Pat Mayo Hour.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Hour UFC 213 DraftKings picks and preview. And at the end, we're going to give a few picks, not necessarily DraftKings picks, but just picks themselves for the TUF 25 finale. Well, I mean, I'm not going to be giving them. Cody Saftic will be giving them.
Hey, Cody Saftic here. Yeah, I would love to talk about the whole TUF 25 finale card, Pat. But
unfortunately, no one cares.
I'm told it's a very busy week with very time constraints and weddings happening, and also people are always, oh man, there's a UFC Friday and a UFC Saturday. There's a Bellator on Friday as well. People, give your head a shake. Weekend crammed with fights. Kunlun fight was actually earlier today, but that is something I'm sure people don't care about. Outside of myself, of course. Crazy Horse getting the loss.
Well, put it this way. People do care about the TUF finale card. Hardcore UFC fans. I'm doing a DraftKings show. DraftKings people, I feel like they're going to invest their money into the card where they actually know the fighters.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? All you got to do is hit one. Last weekend, I played a bonus team. Had Jeremy Kimball as my value play, 7,500. He goes out, gets the first round knockout. I'm watching this card. I'm thinking, holy shit, it's about to go down. All I need is Quiche and Chiesa to come through, and it's going to go down. Fortunately, both of them one actually shit the bed, and then the other one proceeded to just lose in the first round.
Well, what happened with, the bad reffing decision, the early stoppage?
Okay, I got mixed feelings about that.
Okay,
right?
So I wasn't watching the fight.
Sure,
I just saw Twitter explode on me.
Yeah, and I specifically came here and talked about how important it was that this fight was 5 rounds. I figured Kevin Lee would come off to an early start. He's faster. He's more athletic. He's going to have he's been in action. He has not sat on the sideline as much as Michael Chiesa. We figured that Lee was going to come out there and win the first couple rounds, but we figured 5 rounds, the durability, that grinding style of Michael Chiesa, be able to jump back into it. He was smoked the first round. He got taken down. He got outstruck. He got taken down. He got pounded on the ground, and he got locked up in a nasty rear naked choke. It did seem like he was potentially attempting to fight it. He was defending himself. I know he did not tap, but it was a tight choke. If it goes on for a second, maybe he goes out. If it gets stopped, maybe it's an early stoppage. That's the thing. Fans are undecided on it, but fans want to see an action-packed 5 rounds, or they want to see Michael Chiesa, a guy that resonates with fans, has a great story. They want to see this guy prevail. So basically, it was the worst-case scenario for them. The guy that they were cheering against ends up getting a first-round finish, and it was something worth complaining about. But all the same, it was tight. This is the only one thing that I would complain about, is that when you look at that Justine Quiche fight, Justine Quiche is in a rear naked choke that appears to be tighter than from Felice Herrig. This choke is on point. In fact, she dookies herself trying to get out of the choke, but gets out of the choke. Weird trade-off, but gets out of the choke. Kevin Lee, he had him in a tight choke. They were on the dookie stain on the canvas, same spot, but they didn't give him the same opportunity to fight out of it, right? Different refs, different styles, different outcomes. And for that reason, I see people being upset, but you can't take anything away from this performance from Kevin Lee because it was a great performance, right? So was I wrong on that one? Yes. Did that snap our 4th straight main event streak? Yes. But hopefully another curse hasn't begun here. We need Valentina Shevchenko to get the victory.
All right, we'll get to that in a second. But people are complaining about the ref, though. This is a common thing with that ref.
Yeah, well, the thing is that if Dana White is very, he's known for going online and just basically saying, oh, this ref's an idiot. And then people tend to be like, yeah, this ref's an idiot. So is Mario Yamasaki an idiot? Undoubtedly. But then again, he's also told us that Steve Mazzagatti was an idiot. We were also told that Yves Leving was an idiot. And then at some point, you got to realize that if you're not John McCarthy or Herb Dean, he thinks you're an idiot. And if he doesn't know you, or he doesn't like you, or he doesn't respect you, you blow one single call, you're an idiot. The one thing I have to admit is that before every fight that this guy refs, they say his name, Mario Yamasaki, and he looks at the camera and he does this. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
It's probably for children or something.
I have to agree with Dana. 2 grown men are about to fight in a cage, or 2 grown women are about to fight in a cage. And peace and love, man. Get out of here, you hippie. That's all I got to say about that one.
UFC 213. Let's get to the main event because you brought it up already. Shevchenko, Nunes. You like Shevchenko?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I mean, I could totally be eating a whole bunch of crow after this one because my reasoning is very same to this Kevin Lee versus Michael Chiesa fight. Is that
this needs to go the distance. If it goes the distance, Shevchenko wins.
Well, the 5 rounds should be the key. But, I mean, if you just look at strictly on the number side of thing, Amanda Nunes, I believe, has 6 UFC victories.
5 of them by knockout?
By first-round finish. 4 of them by knockout, 1 by submission. But all the same, she finishes girls in the first round. The one time she was not able to get that first-round finish was against Valentina Shevchenko. but that counts for her 6 victories. You look at her 2 losses, Pat. Both times she's lost was fights that she was taken into deep waters and then eventually finished. Against Kat Zingano, she starts off well. She hurts Zingano. She's all over her. But Zingano, by the 3rd round, she's got her tired. She takes her down. She gets on top of her. She pounds her out. So with Nunes, we've always had this idea that maybe she perhaps has cardio issues. To what extent she has those cardio issues, well, that remains to be seen. But when she goes out, she takes you out in the 1st round. Oh, I guess the cardio seems to be fixed. But we got to remember that those are there. So what we've seen, as I mentioned, is the last time she went to a 3rd round with Zingano, she gets killed. So now, against Valentina Shevchenko, 1st round, she does very good. 2nd round, unbelievably good. It was a 10-8 second round. I mean, she completely put it on Shevchenko. But Shevchenko's a survivor. Shevchenko's someone who's extremely durable and extremely hard to put away. So she survives. In the 3rd round, now we got Nunes that's tired, and we got Shevchenko that's putting it on. She's putting it on. She's putting it on. Too little, too late.
Ran out of rounds.
Too little, too late. She wins that round, right? And then it's a 3-round fight. It is what it is. Now, Valentina Shevchenko, since that day, has been like, I want this fight back. I want this fight back. She fought Holly Holm for 5 rounds and proved I can go 5 rounds.
Did she beat Holly Holm?
Yeah, over the course of 5 rounds.
Okay.
She maybe lost the 1st round, although it was a close round, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Her cardio looked to be getting better the entire way. Against Juliana Pena, this is a girl that's 56-2 as a pro kickboxer, a Muay Thai fighter, right? She's known for her kickboxing background. She's a master of sport in Taekwondo. She's a master of sport in Western boxing. She's a master of sport in all these different stand-up arts. Yet she's also a black belt in judo, and she gets taken down by Juliana Pena and submits her. I mean, how impressive is that? But that just goes to show that wherever the fight takes place, she's comfortable. And as such, she's very hard to put away. And Nunes is a fighter that really relies on putting fighters away. So she's 1-2 in fights that go past 2 rounds. The only one she's won is the Shevchenko one, when she was fading. The other 2 that went past a couple rounds, she lost. So I think the blueprint is there on her. Now, yeah, she goes out and she beats she beats Miesha Tate, and she beats Ronda Rousey, and that's great. But how much of that is Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey are the 2 most popular female fighters of all time? They're the 2 most popular women fighters of all time. They have big name recognition. They're former champions. So as such, she killed them in the first 2 rounds, in a round apiece. This girl's indestructible. She's invincible. Well, the blueprint's there. We need somebody that can take her into the later stages of a round, show some durability, and that is well-rounded. You can stand with her, and you can take her to the ground, possibly. And if it goes to the ground and you're on your back, you got enough ground game to protect yourself and stay alive. And you need the cardio. But Shevchenko's got all those things. So I know I said the same thing with Chiesa versus Lee. Lee will have a great start. Chiesa's got to use that grinding style and that durability to take it into deeper waters. What happened? Lee gets the 1st round finish. If Nunes goes out there and gets the 1st round finish, you can't be shocked. Why? Because her track record suggests that that's how she fights. But Shevchenko is not one to get finished. And for that reason, I would be surprised if she got taken out in the 1st round. So if I'm playing on a cash game team, I'm looking at $8,200 for Valentina Shevchenko, and I think that's fair. She's got 5 rounds to deal with. Even if she loses, she's going to get some points. And I really think that in rounds 3, 4, and 5, certainly rounds 4 and 5, she has scored the bulk of her points. But on a GPP, all the same, I don't mind it, because she could very well get that 3rd round finish. She could very well take it into deep waters and get a 4th round finish. And because she's got 5 rounds to deal with, and we're talking about 135-pound women here, she's the kind of girl that can have that volume. She can have that output, that point, grind up that.
So
point
what you're
total.
saying is that even over 5 rounds, she could accumulate enough points that with a decision win, with that extra bonus, then you're still looking at like 100 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. If she goes out there realistically and she scores 100 significant strikes, and on top of that, she gets a couple takedowns, and she's good on the ground, Pat. I mean, she can pass guard. She can get ground transitional points. She's not one of those fighters where we talk about, she's going to get all of her points through the significant strikes. She can kind of do it all. So if she goes out there and she gets 10 points in takedowns and 10 points in ground transitions and, maybe a submission attempt and 100 points off her significant strikes, or 50 points off her 100 significant strikes, plus the win, she can still score 100 points. And if I'm going to look at someone that can score between 80 and 100 points, and with a price tag of $8,200, I mean, I just got to take it. Now, do you want to put her on every single lineup? No, because you're dealing with a girl who's challenging for the title against a girl who's #1 ranked for a reason and has a lot of power. But if I was Amanda Nunes' team, I'd be saying, okay, listen, we've never been 5 rounds before. We've never been past 3, and she has. And we know she's durable, and we know it's hard to put her away. Hell, that last time, you did everything you possibly could in that 2nd round to put it away, and you still couldn't. So instead of thinking, okay, new game plan is, let's conserve a little energy. Let's work on our strength and conditioning. Let's be patient. Let's wait for the opportunities. Her coach, who's a fantastic coach, Dean Thomas, a great fighter as well, former fighter, he goes out on record and says the game plan is to redline, get her.
Well, that could just be misdirection, couldn't it?
That's what I was telling John Pollock. I was like, God, I hope that's misdirection. But the thing is that that's normally how she fights, and that's how she has success. They're probably thinking, if she waits, if she stays patient, then she's not fighting the same way that she normally fights. And if she's not fighting the same way she normally fights, then she's not the same fighter she normally is. Look at Cyborg Santos. People always say, why doesn't Cyborg just lose some of that muscle? Well, see, if she loses some of that muscle, then she won't fight the same way she normally fights, and she's got a fantastic record with all these knockouts because of the way that she fights. So they're thinking, yeah, the last time Shevchenko almost got knocked down in the second round, but she got lucky. We'll make a couple adjustments, and we'll take her out this time. Well, Shevchenko's made a couple adjustments too. She's got a better idea of what you bring to the table now. She's a little more confident. She's got a little more experience under her belt. She's got 5 rounds to draw upon. She's got a better game plan. God, I mean, when I think about this, I like Shevchenko personally, and I feel like this is, generally speaking, if it's a 5-round main event with the potential to score some points, you want the winner on your team. And this is one of those cases where I think a lot of people go Nunes simply because she beat Ronda Rousey, but I'm going to be going Shevchenko.
Curtis Blades heads up your GPP and cash team at $9,500.
Yeah, most expensive guy as well. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I built both of these teams not using the most expensive guys at the top, and then I ended up with enough money that you could afford a couple people. In fact, the GPP has $0 on it, but I had $9,500, and he was the most expensive guy. Likewise, in the cash game team, I leave $300 on the table, but I had enough money for Curtis Blades.
Is he the biggest favorite on the card?
He's a very large favorite. Here's the thing with Curtis Blades. His last 2 fights have actually been fantastic. I mean, you look at the fight he lost to Francis Ngannou. It's Francis Ngannou. And he went 2 rounds with him. His eyes swole shut, and the doctor was like, no mas. But all the same, this guy was doing the losing, but he was there. So you look at his size, and you look at his athleticism, and for a guy that is that big, that comes in at that heavyweight limit, trains out of the Elevation Fight Team in Colorado, good cardio because he's up in the altitude in Colorado, former standout high school wrestler. I think he wrestled at a small end collegiately before deciding, I want to pursue fighting. And now he's a fairly young guy. When you see him in there, he's got a massive, massive reach. He's got good punching power because of just the sheer size of him just allows him to have that brute strength and brute power. But his wrestling game, off the hook. Now, his last fight, he goes out, and it's a career-best fight for him, right? He takes on Adam Milstead. He completely clobbers Milstead pillar to post. Milstead's a tad bit undersized, but all the same, tough guy, Stipe Miocic training partner, so he's probably used to dealing with big athletic guys that can strike and wrestle. He gets smashed pillar to post, and his knee blows out, right? So it's like, whatever. Curtis Blades kicked his ass all the same. Unfortunate ending, but it's a clear win for Curtis Blades. Then he tests positive for smoking the reefer, so they were like, well, that's a no contest. I think it's still a clean win. I don't care if your knee blew out or the guy was high. I think it was a good performance by Curtis Blades. And I think that's something he can build on. Now, here's the thing with Daniel Malonchuk. Daniel Malonchuk's known as one of those tough Polish kickboxing specialists who just everybody wants to take down, and you pretty much succeed at getting him down when you want him down. He gets tired fairly quickly. But if you play with your food, he could clip you, he could hurt you, he could put you down, but he's just a middling guy. And so I think that matches up good in this this spot against Curtis Blades, because Curtis Blades is going to have a longer reach, and he's going to be faster. He stays on the outside, he's going to bop this guy up. He's going to hit him, he's going to score some points. The thing is that he's going to be able to get the takedowns. I think he'd get the takedown, I don't want to say easily, because, Daniel Malonchuk's a 250-pound man, trains at a decent little team, but he'll get the takedown. And Omalanchuk's got this real big issue that when he gets taken down, he very rarely gets up. So whereas I got a good wrestler, I want Omalanchuk to get up so that I can just take him back down and get more points. But Curtis Blades is fairly active on the ground. Daniel Omalanchuk tends to just accept the position on the ground. So I see him going out there, using his striking long enough to get the takedown, and just mash him on the ground. And you can keep doing that. $9,500, Pat, I'll admit, I need to finish. And it'd be hard to put away Daniel Omalanchuk. Not impossible, but it would be difficult to put away Daniel Malonchuk. But I think Curtis Blades could go out there with multiple takedowns, with the ground and pound, with the ground transitions. I think he's going to be enough for me that I liked him better than the other people that are in his price range. Chad Laprise, Rob Font, Cody Stamen, who I love, by the way, but not a good spot for a finish. Trevin Giles, definitely not a good spot for a finish, unless that's just a really coin flip fight we'll talk about later. But I felt more comfortable with Curtis Blades, especially on a cash game. I know I played him on a GPP, but that's because I had the money and I felt safe with him.
So you went with Anthony Pettis at $8,900 as your second most expensive guy, but I know you like Travis Brown. Why Pettis on a cash game instead of Brown?
Well, Travis Brown's a heavyweight, right? And I think whenever you're...
Too risky?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a cash game team, and I'm looking at GPP. And I'm looking for GPP, I think, okay, Travis Brown's a guy that has lost 3 of his last 4 fights. He is fighting great guys.
To good fighters, though.
The best guys. The Derek Lewis one's a bit of a head-scratcher, but all the same, guys that are headlining cards, guys that are ranked in the top 10 in the UFC, those are the guys he's losing to. This is almost a picture-perfect matchup for him. But Alexei Oleinik's got 62 pro fights. That makes him...
He's 40.
Yes, and he's also got more fights than anybody. There's 550 fighters currently signed to the UFC. He has more fights than all 550 of them. Not if you put together. But he might because he's from Russia, and I bet you a lot of those fights aren't documented. All the same, 62 fights. He's got 40 submission victories, only 5 knockouts and 52 wins. That's not a whole lot. But the thing is, he's got a classic rushing style where he wings punches. They hit you. You might go down, but he jumps on you and submits you, right? And we've seen him submit good guys. I mean, whether it's a Jared Rochal or an Anthony Hamilton or even a Mirko Cro Cop, if he gets you down, puts you in a bad spot, he could choke you out. His last fight against Victor Pesta mounts him, and he chokes him out. The only time it's ever been caught in Ezekiel, which is his move, by the way. But I'm just saying he's crafty, right? And when you're betting against a guy that's crafty and you're betting Travis Brown, well, Travis Brown just got engaged to Ronda Rousey. His head's kind of out of the game. He's not on the greatest streak right now. And his last fight against Derek Lewis, you had the guy beat and you let him off the hook. And once you let him off the hook, he made you pay. And with a guy that's durable and is a veteran like Alexei Olenek, he could make you pay. So I'm willing to take the chance on a GPP all day. But on a cash game, I think Anthony Pettis is a much better play.
Why?
Anthony Pettis is moving back up to 155 pounds. He's the former UFC 155-pound champ, the lightweight champ. He decides, you know what, the game's kind of passed me by a little bit, just because, not that he's old, it's just maybe his style's not, that flashy kick game, that, I pull up an arm bar from guard. It just doesn't really work anymore. And the thing is that the division's getting big. All these other guys are getting big. And as a result, he might fight a guy like Edson Barbosa. Barbosa's he's just too big for him, right? He takes on a guy like Rafael dos Anjos. Rafael dos Anjos is just too big for him. So he says, go down to 45. He can't make 145. So the one time he basically passes out trying to make weight. The second time he fought Max Holloway for the title, I don't even know why they gave him a title shot. Basically, both of his performances, flat, pretty stiff. He goes 1-1. He misses weight the second time with Holloway, and he gets knocked out. Not a good look for him. But he realizes, what am I doing at 45? I'm going to go back to 55. The issue is that they've given him a guy that has a style, and Jim Miller has a style that traditionally he doesn't deal well against. However, they're also giving him a guy that's got over 20 fights in the UFC, is old, is a veteran, has been working on his hands, but how much could he really improve his hands? And his bread and butter, that ground game, that All-American Wrestling style, and he's got a BJJ black belt, got to watch out. Maybe he's going to get a hold of Pettis. Honestly, I never thought his wrestling was all that good. It was back in the day, but the game kind of passed him by too. He relies very much on you getting on him. Maybe he hurts you and he gets on top of you. But when guys cleanly take him down, he's got nothing for them. When he stays standing, he closes that pocket, he throws strikes. But do you really want to strike with Anthony Pettis? $8,900, I'm not super excited about it. However, there is a chance that he lands something on Jim Miller and then he knocks Jim Miller out. There is a possibility. Jim Miller's durable. He's a tough guy. I see this fight going the distance as well, but Anthony Pettis is safe. It's the safe points. I think he gets the win. I think it generally stays standing. I think he racks up points the whole way, and he's just the safer play than a Travis Brown.
You're going back to Bilal Muhammad again? I feel like every time that we either take him or don't take him, we're always just wrong on Bilal Muhammad.
No, so I mean, we took him the first time around and he lost, and then he's won his last 2 fights since then, and he's increasingly looking better and better every single time. So the first time, I think you can really much attribute his UFC debut against Alan Jouban to his UFC debut. You're coming from Titan FC, a league that doesn't have the same quality of fighters. You go from fighting Steve Carl to Alan Jouban. The dynamics is different. Everything's different. The speed's different. The timing's different. It's like when these guys get a call up from AAA baseball to the MLB. The fastball is just that much faster. It's like when you get called up from, the OHL, the NHL. That doesn't usually happen. From the AHL to the NHL. The game's just a lot faster. Things change. He comes in here against Alan Jouban, and Alan Jouban just beats him to the punch. And as a result, he hurts him every which way but loose. He drops him multiple times. But this guy's tough. He keeps getting up. He keeps getting up. In the third round, even though he's basically dead, even though he took the fight on short notice, and even though he took the fight during Ramadan, so he hadn't eaten or drank anything from sunrise to sunset, he took the fight, he did the do, he lost, but he gave an okay account of himself. Now, he comes back since then. Sorry, he also lost to Vicente Luque in a fight he got caught in, I'll admit. That was our guy, Vicente Luque.
Was that the one in
New York?
Was it New York? I thought that was the one in Australia.
No, but he got caught clean there. Now, that's the issue with him. And there is some worries here. This is not a walk-in-the-park performance. Is that Jordan Mein is a front start. He's a guy that he could knock you out early. But if he don't knock you out early, you'll have every chance in the world to work your way back into it. Bilal Muhammad's a guy that if you're going to beat him, you pretty much got to knock him out early. Because if you don't knock him out early, he will make you pay. He will wear you down. But Jordan Mein's problem is that Jordan Mein had a kid. Then he decided, I want to retire. He's got 40 pro fights. He's still a young guy. His father was a pro fighter. He's been fighting professionally since he was 16 years old. They had him fight when he was...
Is that illegal?
In BC, it is. In Lethbridge, Alberta, it's legal. You know what I mean? So he's been fighting since he's 16. He's so unbelievably burnt out that he decides, I just had a kid. I'm done. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm done. Retiring. retires.
Now he needs the monies.
Well, it's possible he needs the money, but he realizes, yeah, I'm not that old, and it's so hard from never having a job your whole life
To getting a job?
to just sitting at a desk and like, what are you supposed to do?
Assuming you can get that desk job to begin with.
Assuming you can get that desk job. And let's say they say, well, you could be a coach at the gym. Okay, well, A, that pays no money. And you know how hard it is, like, getting guys ready for a fight and then being like, man, I could do this. You know, I'll take one more. So he takes one more. He comes back on the Toronto card against Amik Mill, right? This guy's tough guy, but average. Once again, he has a good start. He has a good first round. He fades hard. Loses rounds 2, loses rounds 3. It's pretty straightforward. I see this one going the same way. He might have hurt Bilal Muhammad early. Bilal Muhammad's making those adjustments. Bilal Muhammad's getting the timing down. Bilal Muhammad shouldn't be able to get caught from that shot. However, I'm playing him on a cash game and I'm playing on a GPP, and don't view that as this guy's a walk in the park. I love Bilal Muhammad. I do.
And you like the price.
I love the price. I do like the matchup. I think he gets the job done. Once again, finishing Jordan Mean, well, that's going to be a task. But all the same, he's got to survive a sticky first round, and then he should be able to pull this into where he wants it. So just be alert of that.
Betting against Alistair Overeem, I see.
Yeah, betting against Alistair Overeem. And this is actually crazy because it's a cash game. And, I mean, why would you want 2 middling heavyweights on a cash game play? But, yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at Fabricio Verdum and Alistair Overeem, this is the 3rd time they fought. The first time they fight, it's in Japan, and Fabricio Verdum catches him with a Kimura. Makes him tap. Got him his arm. Great. Second time they fought is in Strikeforce. It's in the U.S., 2011.
Is that when Overeem was all gassed up?
Yeah. The thing is that I was told it was going to be a rematch between Fabricio Verdum and Alistair Overeem. However, I tuned in that night to watch live, and it was Fabricio Verdum against a brick fucking wall, right? He attempted to shoot takedowns, but it was like club into a wall and just fall to the ground. Such a frustrating fight to watch because it's like, oh, I don't even know what's going on here, right? Crazy. But as a result, the judges don't know what to do. They're just like, well, one guy's been sitting on his ass the whole time staring up at the wall. And whenever he gets up, he tries to run into him. It was like a little running back running into a lineman. Like, it was crazy. Anyways, times has changed, right? Alistair Overeem, still a physical beast, but not really the guy that he used to be. Now, he's got a lot of fights. I think he's got 57 pro fights. He's something like number 2 or 3 behind Alexei Olenek all-time fights. And when you think about that, you also think, out of all those fights, he's been knocked out over 10 times. He's got a kickboxing career that's also seen him get knocked out in. He's fragile, right?
So what you're saying, this is a coin flip fight, and you'll bank. Will this end in a finish either way, do you think?
Okay, I would like to say yes, but because both guys realize how dangerous the other man is, it gets a little tentative. The last time Overeem fought, or the last time Verdum fought him, he wasn't thinking, oh, the guy's tuning him and run him and hit him. He realized, I don't really want to get anywhere near him, but I'm going to try to bait him into getting on top of me by playing this guard game. It just didn't work, right? But since then, we see Alistair Overeem go into fights, start well, get knocked out. So he gets a little more patient himself. Now he's a lot more patient. He moves a lot more. He waits for that opportunity. He's as dangerous as anybody in the UFC. But if you're talking about putting together a full 15-minute fight, he just doesn't do it well. He's going to have those opportunities. But Fabricio Verdum is the former champ. He's been to the higher level. He's a good striker. He's also got that ground game if for whatever reason it hits the ground. And I just feel like he's going to have the better game plan coming from a camp that's really invested heavily into him in this performance, and it's a do-or-die situation for him. He knows if he wins this fight, he could maybe get another fight with Stipe Miocic. Overeem, meanwhile, he knows he could get another fight with Stipe Miocic as well. There's no contenders at heavyweight, so the winner of this fight setting themselves up in a great position. So obviously there's going to be that extra motivation. I know this cash game team seems a little crazy. I mean, Shevchenko, it's going to be a tough fight, and then you got Bilal Muhammad, and you got Fabricio Verdum, and don't even get me wrong, don't even get me started on my next pick, which we'll talk about. But all the same, I realize it's risky. It's just you can save a lot of money on this team. And if you save a lot of money, you can get a lot of the plays that you like. And I'm getting a lot of the plays that I like. Fabricio Verdum should be the favorite guy here. But once again, and this goes back to the last 2 fights I've talked about, we're taking Bilal Muhammad. We'll have the first part of the fight will be tough, but he'll win in the second part. We're taking Shevchenko. The first part of the fight will be tough, but she's going to win the second part. But this is MMA, Pat. Could either of these fighters get finished? Yes, absolutely.
All 3 of them could get finished.
They could. And on a cash game team, you don't want to hear that. But I do like this cash game team.
Last guy. I don't even know who this is.
Yeah, neither do I. Kidding. James Bogdanovic. He's actually making his UFC debut here. There's 2 ways of looking at this fight, okay? Thing number 1, James Bogdanovic, he's a guy that was a D3 college ball player, decides after college...
Basketball, football?
Football.
Okay.
He decides after college...
Probably better.
Yeah, out of Wisconsin. So he's just like, okay, you know what? Been playing some football, and I'm done, and I'm still competitive. I want to get into something else. Somebody tells him, hey, let's go to a gym. We're gonna go to an MMA gym. Okay. He goes to a class. He does a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. Ben Rothwell, UFC fighter, heavyweight, gangster. This guy is one of my favorite fighters. Been around for a long time, and just one of those guys that looks increasingly better every time you see him, to a certain extent anyways. You know, a good guy. He sees this kid at this jiu-jitsu session, and he realizes the guy's 6'4", 220, and moves extremely well because of he's a college ball player. So he walks up to him. He's just like, hey, you're coming to the fight team. You're going to come help guys in the fight team. So he really took this kid under his wing, right? The guy had a 8-1 amateur career, so he fought well as an amateur. He turns pro. He lost his debut by a first-round submission. Then he won his next 8 fights in a row. All 8 of those fights, he ended in the first round. The fight he lost ended in the first round. He's got 9 pro fights. All of them have ended in the first round. So a lot of people are looking at this fight, and they're thinking he's not going to be able to finish Trevin Giles in the first round, so he'll tire. He's not fighting anybody really good on the regional scene. He's not fighting anybody of note. He fought once for Bellator. It was a prelim, and yeah, he smoked the guy out in the first round. So the thought process is that he's just going to gas, he's going to get tired, and he's going to lose.
But what you're saying is for $7,200, it's worth the chance to see if he gets a first-round finish.
Okay, so not even necessarily that. It's that he hasn't been past the first round because no one's tested him. So how do you know he's going to get tired after the first round? People say, oh, he's a front runner. All the fights. What happens when it gets to round 2? Yeah, but you don't know what happens around 2 because nobody actually knows what happens when he gets to round 2. I watched a kickboxing demo from him from a couple years back, and it gets to round 2, and he looks good. In fact, he looks better in round 2 than he did in round 1. He comes from that football background, so he's an athlete, and he trains with Ben Rothwell. Now, Ben Rothwell's thing is that he's 265 pounds, and he's got great cardio. He keeps going. He's very agile for a big man. He moves extremely well. So if this kid comes out here and he has decent cardio, then that's a problem in itself. But now let's look at Trevin Giles. Now, Trevin Giles is undefeated, so it's easy to say, well, he won't get finished in the first round. He's never been finished. He's also a college ball player, but a much smaller guy. He tried to walk on in a D1 school and didn't get the spot. So as a result, never really played college ball. But all the same, good guy out of Texas decides, I'm going to get into MMA. 24 years old, he's 4 years younger than our guy out of Wisconsin. Now, here's the thing that kind of irks me. He decides, I'm going to start fighting professionally. About 4 fights ago, he takes on a guy named Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen's 2-0 at the time. He's 4-0 at the time. Brandon Allen is a former amateur standout, but he hurts him. He hurts him bad. He rocks him. The kid recovers. He ends up getting the win. Good for Trevin Giles. 2 fights later, he takes on Ike Villanueva. Ike Villanueva is just a journeyman at Texas, 11-7. He's beating him up. Ike hurts him. Ike stuns him. But he beats Ike Villanueva. No big deal. So then he basically, they offer him another fight, and he says, I don't want to fight for you guys. Thanks, but no thanks. I think I've done enough to fight in the UFC. I deserve to be in the UFC. You're 8-0. You're coming off a win over Ike Villanueva. You don't deserve to be in the UFC. Nobody owes you anything. But that's the way he feels. So
yeah, well, it looks like he's in the UFC now.
He calls the UFC's matchmaker and says, I think I should be in the UFC. And they basically flat out tell him, no, go fight somebody else. So he takes on a guy named Ryan Spann. Split decision victory. Hell of a fight. Close fight. Went a hard 3 rounds. He was getting taken down. It was a good fight. At the end of the fight, the commentators agree. They say, it doesn't matter who wins this fight. You can't really complain. It was a close fight, but he gets the win. So now they offer him another fight. Same organization. They offer him another fight. He says, you know what? I'm putting my body through damage. It's not worth it to me. I'm going to go back to school and pursue a degree. Pursued a degree, and then lo and behold, the UFC calls out of the blue. So he takes it. He's never fought at 205 pounds before in his career. He's a career 185-pounder, moving up a weight class to take this guy on. Trevin Giles is 6 feet tall. His opponent,
so
James
this
Bogdanovic,
is his first UFC fight too.
They're both UFC debuts, but he's making his 205 debut. Bogdanovic's 6'4". This guy's 6 feet tall. Bogdanovic's got a 5-inch reach advantage. So all I'm saying is on paper, this is a gimme. Well, Giles is undefeated, and the other guy's a front runner I've never heard of. I'll just take Trevin Giles. And that's fair. Maybe he will win.
What are the odds?
For the odds.
What are the odds in this fight?
He's like a 3.5 to 1 favorite. I mean, I have seen him get rocked in 2 of his last 4 fights, right? And those are taking on guys that are middleweights. Now he's taking on a guy that's 6'4" and trains with a bona fide heavyweight. So I decided to go on RothwellMMA.com, and they got this James Bogdanovic is former school grade teacher, quits his job, goes to Rothwell MMA full-time. He's full-time there. He's a coach there. He's a purple belt in BJJ under the same guy that is Ben Rothwell's BJJ coach. He lists his favorite grappling technique as the go-go choke, the same move that Ben Rothwell's been using to crush these guys, basically a modified guillotine choke. And on top of that, he's something like a brown belt in Rothwell Muay Thai.
And former college football player. So
who throws heavies.
And is there anything to be said that the guy finished his degree and was a teacher and is probably not a moron?
Exactly.
Maybe he has a game plan?
You know what? I couldn't agree more. I've seen interviews with him, and he just seems like a calm, level-headed guy. And he's just like, oh, yeah, we're working hard. This is a guy that's This is a guy that quit his full-time job as a school teacher, okay, to pursue fighting because he wants to take it to the highest level and he's inspirational. Giles, meanwhile, quit fighting because he didn't really believe in himself that much, now did he? Decided to get a fallback plan in case this doesn't come through for me. Had the UFC not called, one has to beg the question, would he have even come back? He talks about, oh, I'm going to have a career in law enforcement. And, you know, that just seems like a guy that's got one foot out the door. Now, here's the thing. There's not an issue with that. But I'm just looking at all the factors. I got a guy that might have one foot out the door, who's moving up a weight class, who, you know, has taken 6 months off. That's not the big deal, but he's been hurt in the past. He's taking on a much larger guy, and he's making his UFC debut. Well, could this guy, for $7,200, James Boknovic, come out here and hurt him? Absolutely. Could he stuff the takedowns and make this hell? Absolutely.
Could he get knocked out in the first round? Not probably, but maybe.
Probably. Could be. However, it's important to know he's never been knocked out before. His only career loss was by submission. So for people saying he's a front runner, he'll tire and Giles will beat him, you don't know that, you know? The only time you'll be able to figure it out is on Saturday night when it happens. So you'll have to wait until then. But when I see $7,200, this guy actually reminds me a lot of Kimball in the spot that he's cheap. Kimball was $7,500. He's $7,200. But it's not that he's great. It's that people are overvaluing the opponent. People overvalue Josh Stainsbury, which is a gigantic mistake. And I really feel like when you look at Giles, you think, wow, he's one of the top-ranked middleweights outside of the UFC because he was fighting for Legacy FC and that LFA organization, and they had him ranked. But he loses to Derek Anders, their current champ. If he fights Anders, he doesn't win that fight, in my personal opinion. He took some time off. He never fought the best guys they had to offer. He's moving up a weight class. All these different variations means if you're betting this straight up, pass. Stay away from it. Put some small action on Boknovic.
I was going to say, why not bet the underdog? What, like 2.5 to 1? Does he win this fight? Let's say you ran the fight, was it 2.5 to 1? If you ran it is he 3 to 1, 2 to 1?
Yeah. The thing is that I don't know because I've never seen him fight
in your best guess, does he have more than a 33% chance of winning this fight?
This is MMA. He's a much larger guy. Hell yeah, he does.
So then that's not a bad bet. Maybe I'll make that bet.
I'm having a look at it. I'm having a serious look at it, especially on something like Toutmaster. If I can steal some points,
I'll definitely. I'm going
to take a shot for it.
4th in Toutmaster?
You got to tighten up a little bit. You still listen to McCormick? Because if so, he's been feeding you some. I check your picks every week, and a lot of them I agree with. They're a lot of my picks. But sometimes it's like, is he chasing points?
That's me. I'm usually the point chaser.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I've been playing Toutmaster, and it's been working for me so far, is that even the weeks where I don't have like a winning record with picks, I've never had a bad week, which I'm probably jinxing myself now. But I take enough underdogs that I look at the odds and be like, well, this guy's 3.5 to 1. I get 3.5 points. This guy's 2.5 to 1. I just take like 4 of them or 3 of them and hope one wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
If 2 of them win, like when I have my big weeks, I just outclass everyone because no one's taking these guys.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? And then them not getting that single point and you gaining 3.5 points on it, you're making up double ground, right?
Yeah, especially
they're coming down and you're coming up.
It's like when people play the ownership game, and this might be a good thing here if everyone's going to jump on Giles, the T Giles band.
TG.
And they think that he's great. He might have some decent ownership at the top, and no one's going to take this other guy.
Yeah, no,
and if he wins, it works both ways. It's not only that you get points, is that your opponents, they just have no points in their lineup, and they have a spot filled already.
Well, Kimball was like 10% owned.
Kimball! Detective John Kimball.
Yes.
I'm a cop, you idiot.
He got the win. Thank God.
GPP team. You got
GPP.
Curtis Blades still on there. You got Shevchenko, and you have Muhammad as double ups. And you've already talked about Travis Brown and why he wasn't a safe cash pick, but why is he a good GPP pick?
Yeah, okay. Travis Brown knows he's got to get back on track here. His career is kind of in the headlights. It's right in front of him.
Lost 3 in a row?
No, he's lost 2 of his last 3. The issue is that you're looking at 3 in a row. But
to Kane.
Yeah. To Kane, obviously his last time out against Derek Lewis and Fabricio Verdum. You know, these guys are
the best.
2 guys are former champions, and against Derek Lewis, it can happen to anybody. They call him the Black Beast for a reason. You stand in front of him, bad things might happen, and quite frankly, he hits him, he puts him down. It is what it is.
Was that UFC Halifax?
Yes. Now, Travis Brown realizes, I got to get back on track here. So they give him Alexei Olenek. Now, Olenek, as we talked about, he's 40 years old. He's also a guy that they list him as in between 6 foot and 6'2", and if it is 6'2", it's a generous 6'2". What he does have, this is shocking, he's like 5 inches shorter than Travis Brown. He's got a longer reach.
How is that possible?
He's got like an 80.
Travis Brown has like T-Rex arms, or does that guy have like Stretch Armstrong arms?
Well, you see, he's born in the USSR, so I think it's like Russian testing. You know, it's just like, oh man, he's genetically empowered.
How close to Chernobyl did he grow up?
pretty damn close, son. Now, if you see this guy, I mean, he's just, I made the joke. I'm not trying to, it's a joke. Don't take anything out of it. But I always said, like, this guy's a KGB Spetsnaz. Because I've seen him take beatings where both of his eyes are closed and his nose is broken. And literally, if his opponent would have been like, just tell me where the rebel base is, he'd have been like, no. He's just like unwilling, man. This guy is durable like jerky. He fought one of the guys we were talking about, Daniel Malanchuk. And it was like a savage beating that he could have won the fight all the same. But he took a savage beating, and afterwards it was just like, dude, are you okay? And it's just like, duh. It's just like, oh my God, this guy's a machine. So I see the problems here, but the issue is that because he's a shorter guy and he relies heavily on his ground game, we talked about 5 knockouts and 52 career wins. Come on. How many would Travis Brown have? He won 52 fights. He might have upwards of 35 knockouts. So the guy's not really a power puncher, but what he does is he wings his shots, closes the distance, tries to push you up against the fence, and uses a double leg takedown to suck your hips out. That move doesn't traditionally work on Travis Brown because he's so tall.
Gives you the elbows?
He gives you these, they're called Travis Brown elbows, and he's using them to great effect. So that kind of worries me. The other thing is that when Olenek is all the way on the outside, he doesn't do well. He's got a great reach, but the guy can't jab for jab with you. He's been knocked out 4 times in his career, right? Which is, considering he's got 62 pro fights.
Pretty good.
Yeah. All 4 times he got knocked out were in the first round.
And Travis Brown, 4 of his past 5 wins have been first-round knockouts?
That is correct. In fact, I believe they were all knockouts, and 4 of them were in the first round. So the thing is that if he stays on the outside, there's a good chance he gets clipped and he gets knocked out. If he comes all the way to the inside, there's a good chance he gets clipped and gets knocked out. But we got heavyweights, and they're both going to be swinging, and that's why I got him on a GPP as opposed to a cash game team. But I do like Travis Brown, to be honest with you. I know he's easy to shit on, and people don't really particularly like him, and he's engaged to Ronda, and whatever. He's easy to hate. There's no denying that the guy's a physical specimen, and we had high hopes. We all had. Don't lie to yourself. We all had high hopes for Travis Brown at some point. We all thought he was heavyweight dominant Cruz at some point. All jokes aside, the guy moved well. He had tools that other guys didn't have. He knocked out Alistair Overeem. He showed some promise. He was one of those guys that was going to go to the top. And unfortunately, things got in the way. But he's not training with Edmund Taverdine anymore. That's got to be a benefit. And I really hope, just like that Lewis fight, he starts off well, but he can't finish. This time, start off well, finish strong. He gets the win over Olenek. And I think for $8,600, it's fairly well priced.
All right, and then you're going with Yoel Romero over Whitaker. Is Whitaker the one who just beat what's-his-face?
Jacare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had that one too. I had a great on
Whitaker.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is that this fight is just a different style clash altogether. I mean, I know in some ways people are going to be saying the same thing. Well, Jacare wanted him on the ground, didn't want to stand with him, and what happened was he got him down. Whitaker got back up, made him pay. Yoel's not going to want to stand with him. He's going to want him on the ground, and if Whitaker can survive, he'll get back up. He'll make him pay. But this is not the same fight. This is not the same fight whatsoever. Fact is, if you're going to play 10 lineups, you're going to want to play Whitaker on a couple of those lineups because does he have a shot? Undoubtedly.
He's probably the favorite in this fight, isn't he?
I would imagine so. Yoel Romero is Yoel Romero. I mean, he's just a different type of physical beast all over, but it's the same reasoning that I use on a lot of fights is that size really does matter. And coming off this season of The Ultimate Fighter where Jesse Taylor was my pick to win the season, is Jesse Taylor a skillful guy? You know, skill for skill, is he the best guy in the house? No, not likely, but he's a lot bigger than everybody else, and he'll be able to put his game plan to good use. I look at this fight, and I think the same thing. Yoel Romero's a guy that used to fight at 205 pounds. And Pat, he didn't look out of place at 205. He's a gigantic guy, freak athlete, former silver medalist in the Olympics, 2000 Olympics. He's 40 now, but nobody moves like this guy. Nobody has the type of athleticism this guy has. And quite frankly, nobody has the ability to wrestle the way this guy has. I know people say he's been taken down. Yeah, he's been taken down. He gets back up. And the guys that take him down, they're no slouches. They're the top guys in the world. So I like Yoel Romero. But it's important to know he fought at 205 before and didn't look out of place. At middleweight, he's gigantic. Robert Whitaker is a former welterweight. He fights a lot better at middleweight. Don't get me wrong. He's a much better middleweight. But all the same, he's a bit of a smaller guy. He's not a big middleweight. He was a big welterweight, not a big middleweight. And I got Yoel Romero, who is a big middleweight. So you got the guy that's the former wrestling Olympian, right, against Robert Whitaker, who's the striker. But that size is going to make a difference because if he goes out there and he takes Robert Whitaker down, it's going to be harder to get back up. And he's going to be able to get you down almost at will. And he's got no delusions of standing and striking with you for a prolonged period of time. Yeah, he can strike with anybody. Yeah, he can go out there and knock out a guy like Chris Weidman with a flying knee, knock out a guy like Tim Kennedy with just a barrage of shots. And people might cry foul in whatever case. The guy's a cheater. He's a winner.
Why is he a cheater?
He'll grab the fence.
Oh, good.
He'll dump a whole bottle of water on his head.
Listen, if I can get the Eddie Guerrero of the UFC on my team, then I'm in. You got to cheat to win.
He pulled the old...
It's not cheating if you don't get caught.
That's it. He pulled the old me no speaking no English one time just so he could have another like 45 seconds on the stool.
Does he speak English?
Not really. He's been living in Miami since like 2000.
Well, you don't need to speak English in Miami if you don't want to.
That's what he said. He says it in Spanish with subtitles, but he's like, when I first landed in Miami, it was just like being in Cuba. I was like, no shit. You know? It pretty much is. But all the same, great spot. And he's surrounded by good, like-minded guys. Trains at American Top Team in Florida, one of the best camps. Everything's going right for him.
The best camps. Very good.
This guy's... Trust me, I know. People love my camps. The thing is that Yoel's got it all, man. I mean, he really is the complete package. But the same reasoning I've used in other fights. 5 rounds doesn't play towards him, plays towards Whitaker. Because this guy is so fast and so explosive and so muscular. Going 25 minutes is quite the task.
But where it's a GPP, if we're taking Romero, we hope he gets a finish within the first, second, or third round.
Yeah, MMA fans are really quick to forget things. And so they think, dude, Whitaker's last fight, he won. He knocked out Jacare.
We made that big mistake.
The fight before that.
But we made that big mistake when it came to that guy 2 weeks ago. The guy who scored all the draft, Tim Elliott. And everyone was all in on Tim Elliott. It was like, oh yeah, maybe he's not the greatest.
Exactly. You're like, oh man, I blew that one.
Just the recency bias of what you saw last.
That's it. But with Robert Whitaker, the same thing is that you look at his fight before that, and it's a first-round knockout, Derek Brunson, and you get excited. Whoa, he's looking good. The Derek Brunson fight is that he gets hurt. He gets hurt right off the bat. Derek Brunson's very fast. He's explosive. He closes the distance well. He puts hands on Whitaker. But Whitaker survives, makes him pay. That same reasoning could apply here to Yoel Romero. But all the same, we got to remember, we've seen this guy get hurt. And we've seen how he deals with superior athletes. And my final point to that is that we got Yoel Romero. Not only is a former Olympic wrestling champion or a silver medalist, not only does he have 2 wins over Cael Sanderson, one of the greatest American wrestlers of all times, not only is he training at American Top Team in America with great wrestlers in a wrestling heavy camp, is that he's taking on Robert Whitaker, who's from Australia, who trains in Australia, and quite frankly, Australia's not really known for the wrestling. So does Yoel Romero have the solution to beat a guy like Robert Whitaker? Take him down, grind him out, pound him, hurt him. Once this guy's hurt in rounds 2 and 3, the power's a little bit less, and he's really not that big of a guy to begin with. But all the same, dangerous fight, anything can happen. $7,900 is enticing on Yoel Romero. This is a GPP. You got to have one of them. We're leaning Yoel, but don't be shocked if Whitaker does what he has to do and gets the win, because he's a game opponent.
Last guy. I can't pronounce the name. You give it to me.
Gerald Meerschaert.
Oh, Meerschaert.
Yeah. I'm really hoping he doesn't Meerschaert the bed for me.
Well, then someone's going to have to deal with one of those stains in the middle of the ring again.
That girl got offered $15,000 for her Dookie stain shorts.
I would have taken that.
She was like, I'm going to turn it down because it's weird. I was like, weird.
Here you go.
Yeah, the guy's like, I want to hang them in my man cave.
Perfect.
I was like, by man cave, does he mean head? Because if he means head, don't sell them to him. But if he actually means man cave, sell them to him.
Why this guy? And we talked yesterday a little bit about this. You really like him.
I like Meerschaert.
Why don't we have him on the... Why don't we... We can't afford him on the cash team right now because we'd have to move off of Verdum. But if you wanted to upgrade your cash team, you could go down from Pettis to Brown or potentially someone a bit safer in that area and upgrade to this guy.
Yeah, I actually got a bonus team for you that we can get to. And,
okay.
and I do that. But the thing with Meerschaert is that you got to realize that when you're dealing with Thiago Santos, this might be a killer-be-killed situation. Thiago Santos is heavy-handed. I mean, he's heavy-footed, too. Whatever he can hit you with, it's going to be heavy. And that's how he fights. He's very aggressive. He's going to close that distance. And he's got the skills. The thing is that you can beat this guy predominantly through submission game. If you can take him down, he usually gives up the submission. Against Eric Spicely, he fought him in Brazil, at home. He's the tune of a 5-1 favorite. And what happens? He gets taken down. He gives up his back. He gets choked out. This whole sequence happens in the first round. Somewhat embarrassing for him. He rebounds from that, and that was already, you're fighting Gegard Mousasi prior to that, and Gegard Mousasi takes him down and punches him out. So it's like, okay. And, prior to that, he actually fought a guy named Cesar Mutanche. And, well, Cesar Mutanche caught him in a guillotine about 47 seconds into the first round. So you can beat this guy. In fact, you can beat this guy in the first round. Now, his last fight, coming into the fight, 2-fight losing streak. He's got the worst tattoo, second worst tattoo in UFC history next to Alan Belcher's Johnny Cash tattoo. Awful tattoo of a hammer on the middle of his chest. And he goes out there against Jack Marshman. Now, once again, people are really quick to look at the results. What's the result? The result is that he knocked Jack Marshman out with a spinning hook kick to the head. Jack Marshman had him in all sorts of nasty trouble, had him just hurt left, right, and center. But once again, that's him getting hurt by strikes. I'm not even caring about the strikes. I'm caring about the ground game, and that's what Meerschaert does well. Meerschaert's got 19 career submission victories. He's entering this fight on a 7-fight winning streak. He's 2 fights into his UFC career, and he's finished both of his UFC wins by first-round finish. On top of that, he's on the same team that Anthony Pettis is in, so you know he's in good shape. You know he's a guy that's a ready, willing competitor. And last but not least, the guy's got 8 pro losses, but has never been knocked out in his career. career. So if the mindset is Thiago Santos is going to hit him, he's going to knock him out, well, we don't know that because this guy's not been knocked out. But if he can survive, he can tire him out, he can get the takedown. We know how good his ground game is. And last but certainly not least, his last fight's against Ryan James. Ryan James is important to me because Ryan James is from British Columbia and is a BJJ black belt and is a good black belt. He submits Ryan James with an armbar in the first round. That shit's impressive. So if he goes out there against Thiago Santos, who's good at jiu-jitsu, but not great at jiu-jitsu, he just gets the takedown. This guy gets desperate. He gives up his back. He puts himself in bad submissions, or bad positions, and with a bad position leads to the submission. This guy's got 19 of them, 2 of them in the UFC alone, and that's just his last 2 fights. So for $7,700, especially when you're playing a GPP, Mearshardt's got merit. He's a good price. I think he's a guy that's got a shot. And once again, this is MMA, Pat. Anything can happen. But that being said, anything can happen. And what I expect to happen is him to get that takedown and get that submission. Certainly a possibility. I like the price. I decided to play him.
You got a bonus team, you say?
Yeah, I got a bonus team. So actually,
I don't want to make a board for it, so you just list it out.
I'll just list it out.
Is there anyone new on it that we haven't talked about yet?
Just one, actually.
All right, so give us the 5, then give us the new guy.
Okay, so because it's a GPP, I decided to put that James Boknovic on it because I have him in my cash game, but realistically, he's more of a GPP.
And if he wins, he tends to win in the first round if he wins.
Exactly. So we got $7,200 for him. It's like, okay, we'll take the chance. Then we got Gerald Mearshart. $7,700. Okay, he's a good price. And Yoel Romero, I mean, okay, he's got to have a couple things go his way, but $7,900, they're all great price.
You're really invested in Shevchenko.
I really like the 5 rounds. I do. You know what? I'll tell you something. You could have switched her out for someone else.
So you have $200 left over. Let's say you don't want to use Shevchenko. You
can go up to 84.
You can go up to 84, so that would leave you with Overeem, and you don't want to take Overeem.
Well, I kind of think Fabricio Verdum's going to win.
And you don't want Whitaker because you're taking Romero.
That's exactly it.
Do you have Bilal Muhammad on this team?
Well, if he was on he's not going to get a finish. And in fact, he's only got 3 rounds to work with, and she's got 5. So I like her a little better.
And then we're back down below that level again. So I guess that is the best you can do.
Exactly. So I take now.
Does Chad Laprise have a better chance of a first round finish than Travis Brown does?
Well, no, because he's 155 pounds. I'll tell you what.
So you could drop down from Laprise, take Brown, and then you could upgrade Shevchenko. You could use your $200 to 84.
Chad Laprise can get the knockout, though.
He can?
He can get the knockout. But Travis Brown can get the knockout for sure as well.
You save an extra $700, you could go back up to Stanman if you wanted to.
Okay, I love Cody Stamen. First of all, his name's Cody, but I've been watching this guy for a long time. And he's just one of those good homegrown All-American kids out of Michigan.
Not a knockout guy?
He could. I don't see it happening. He's actually in a fairly tough position as well, and I think they're overvaluing. I mean, look how many points he averages per performance.
0.
Yeah, you know why? Because he's making his debut. So, I just don't know how people are so quick to jump on a guy who's making his debut.
Well, who's Terrion Ware?
Oh, Terrion Ware. The guy's a former RFA champ. He's on a former top contender. He also fought for Tachipala's fights. He's on a 4-fight winning streak right now. I'm going to tell you something about Terrion Ware. Guy's been wrestling since he was 7 years old out of Oklahoma. Moves to California. He's born in California, lives in California. And he goes out there and he can stuff takedowns. He's got good hands, good cardio. Came back 2 fights ago. He's in Russia. He took on Nick Mammalis. Went a hard 3 rounds in Russia and looked good. Comes back to that. Takes on Jared Papazian. Knocks out Papazian. You can't write a guy off.
Can he win this fight?
It's also his UFC debut, and I do believe the key to beating him is the wrestling, and I think that Cody Stamen is going to have a little bit better wrestling, but I don't see this being a super exciting fight. I don't see this being a high-scoring fight. Because of the price tag he's got on him, I would tend to avoid him here. But if you take Boknovic, you take Mearshart, you take Romero, and you take Shevchenko, you have so much money left over. So I did take Curtis Blades once again, the $9,500. I think he gets a judge. But yeah, Chad Laprise. Chad Laprise is a guy that's always been known for his striking, but he needs to find that rhythm. His last couple of fights, he seems to have found that rhythm. His last fight in particular, he goes out there and he gets a beautiful knockout. Prior to that, you watch some good fights, maybe like the Tibau Gowdy fight. It really shows you what the guy can do when he's on. And when he's on, he can get the knockout. Conversely, you got Camozzi. Now, this is Brian Camozzi, who's the little brother of Chris Camozzi. Yeah, people might have had high expectations for him, potentially. But they always said, not as talented as his brother. And that's when we really beg the question, well, how talented is Chris Camozzi? They're telling you you're less talented than this guy. But he gets a UFC debut under belt. Good little UFC debut. Knocked out in the 2nd round by Randy Brown. Bad fight. Knocked out. Ugh. He's taking a step up in competition here, coming off his first career knockout. So it's not good. Chad Laprise is 9,300. Do I like him? Yeah. Should I have maybe played him on my cash game team? Yeah. Is he almost as good as a pick as Curtis Blades and $200 cheaper? Quite potentially. But,
let's say
you know what? I think I know what you're gonna say, and I do agree. If you drop Blades and save the $200, then you could switch up from Shevchenko to Brown.
To Brown. Maybe that's the move. So
that's the move, Pat. New bonus team.
So do you want me to change your bonus team?
Wow, listen, if you're going to play 10 teams, play them all. But no, that's the thing. This goes to show you that this card in particular, and I know there's a Friday card, I know there's, different events happening, three events in 3 days, basically. However, the thing you got to realize here, especially, is that there's a lot of options. You can play a lot of different teams. There's a lot of different ways to make a team. Well, I had a team earlier that had $1,300 left on the table, So you're trying to get a team that other people might not play, but also know there's a lot of good, cheap value plays.
All right, let's talk about the TUF finale. We're not going to give a DraftKings team for that because I don't think people are overly interested in DraftKings.
I'll tweet one out for the fans, but
Sure.
I'll just give you a hot take.
So follow Cody at CJ Saftic on Twitter. You'll find his lineup up there. I'll retweet it out too. But what's your hot take on this?
The hot take would be, first of all,
how about just some picks?
I'm going to give you two that are close to my heart.
Okay.
First of all, Jesse Taylor. I love Jesse Taylor, Pat. I honestly do. Been following this guy since he had 6 fights. I think he lost to Jesse Forbes back in the day, and I was like, hey, I like this guy. Since then, he's had 40 fights. He has 45 career fights, but I caught whiff of him when he was 5-1. Goes to the Ultimate Fighter. He starts ripping through the Ultimate Fighter. He's kicking ass. Thing is, guy likes to drink. Thing is, he gets real boozed. And he kicks out a limo's window and then proceeds to get drunk and walk into a hotel and tell everybody at the hotel casino, do you know who I am? I'm a UFC fighter. Anyways, that don't bode well with the UFC, who officially yeah, you're done. Get out of here. They gave him one fight against a guy who currently fights at 205 pounds, and he got caught in a Peruvian fucking necktie. They cut him. Since then, he's fought in 14 different countries. The guy's fought in Bahrain, in Argentina, in Jordan, in Mexico, in Japan, in Canada, in Russia. It don't matter. Ireland, Wales, Australia, Northern Australia. Maybe it's Western Australia, Perth. I'm really sorry if you're from Western Australia. Anyways, the guy's done the do. He's been all over the place. I really like him. He gets on this season of The Ultimate Fighter, and he's a reinvented version of himself. 34 years old, but he's a reinvented version of himself. The thing is at 170 pounds, Pat, there's nobody that's got the size and strength of this guy. He goes out there and he bulldozes you. Now, you can catch him. Absolutely, you can catch him. He's got 15 pro losses. Of his 15 pro losses, he's been submitted 14 times. What is going on? But he's an instinct-based fighter. He basically just goes on autopilot. What I mean by that is when you see him fight, he might shoot a single leg. And whereas if you stuff the single leg, most fighters are like, okay, stuff the single leg. Okay, they're analyzing. You're moving. Maybe I'm going to throw some strikes. Maybe I'm going to try something else. Try the single leg again. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to try the double. I'm going to try to get him up against the cage. Maybe I can get the takedown easier against the cage. No, this guy chain wrestles. He'll be like, single leg, ankle pick, double leg, single leg, ankle pick, single leg, fireman carry. All of a sudden, you're down. Inside trip, outside trip, lateral toss. It literally does not matter. He just chains everything together. So he actually fought in the Ultimate Fighter last night. He goes out there. He takes on the tournament favorite, a guy that I said Jesse Taylor will beat if he fights because he's twice his size. He goes out there. He takes on James Krause. He just instinctively goes out there, chain wrestles, takes him down, smashes him. What I'm noticing, and I've been watching this guy his whole career, is now that he's on autopilot, he's full-on blacked out autopilot now. Oh, he's aggressive. He normally tries to just choke you out, but now he'll smash you. Elbows, punches, forearm chops. Does not matter. He'll even might let you up to just rip you back down and just keep smashing you. As a result, he takes a topside guillotine on James Krause, chokes him out unconscious. Pat, it's a beautiful performance. Here's the thing I take out of it. He goes in the back, and he's real emotional. He's fired up, and then they're taking his gloves off, and then he's like, did I finish him? Yeah, you literally just choked him out unconscious about 5 minutes ago. Here's the thing. He doesn't actually get hit in the head. He's not hurt. He's not brain dead. He's literally on autopilot. He pretty much just blacks in there. And because he's got 45 pro fights over the course of a 10-year-plus career in 14 different countries, most of those he showed up to Mexico with no corner. He showed up to Australia with no corner. He doesn't even need a coach. His body just like, let's do this, Jesse, and he does it. Now he's taking on a guy who's a Muay Thai stylist, right? I just think he's going to take him down and grapple fuck him. And then we've been noticing with DraftKings especially, that's the way to get the mad points, you know what I mean?
Is he a favorite?
The fight just happened last night, so they hadn't officially announced it.
So the odds aren't out yet?
As of this recording, I hadn't seen it, but it's entirely possible they would have released it this morning.
See, UFC.
Because I'm not going to lie. People knew this fight was happening because obviously both guys have had to train for each other. The episode aired last night, and they're fighting on Friday, but clearly they've had to do some training.
What was the name?
Jesse Taylor.
Jesse Taylor.
JT Money.
I don't see it here. Is the entire card just a tough finale? Like Jessica I is on this card?
So they put 10 fights, which were UFC fighters already, 10 fights, and then they were going to take 2 fights from the Ultimate Fighter. Jesse Taylor's going to the finals, so he'll be one of them. James Krause, who lost, he'll be taking on Tom Galicchio, which is like the 2 guys that didn't make it to the finals. But all the same, I like Jesse Taylor. Everybody knows I'm a Jesse Taylor mark. I've pretty much just used all the time that you've given me to talk about other fights to talk about Jesse Taylor. Take it with a grain of salt. I really like the guy.
Elias is on this card too?
Yeah, that one is guaranteed to go the distance. Take the over prop for sure.
Let's see what the over prop is.
I'm sure it's not very good.
Method of victory: Elias Theodoro by decision or technical decision, plus 150. Draw 66-1.
I'd take that. You know it's going the distance. So
that's not bad.
Give it a shot.
Let's see. Is there total rounds? Over 2.5 rounds, minus 275.
That's it.
Yeah.
You can make it easy $100.
Will the fight go the distance? Yes, minus 225.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the move for sure. Listen, Brad Tavares is a talented fighter, but I mean, he can't bust a grape. And Elias is a fan favorite, but
let's do that then. Once the odds come out for that fight, take your boy Jesse, what's his name?
Jesse Taylor.
Jesse Taylor, parlay it with, will this fight go to decision at minus 225? You probably get around it. Do you think Taylor will be a favorite or an underdog?
I would say he's a favorite. He's got the style.
Like a big favorite?
People are pretty big on him right now.
Minus 200 favorite, minus 500 favorite, minus 120.
Not quite that big, but judging by how he's been performing, judging by how people are realizing, shit, this guy's a piece of kryptonite, and you know what he is kryptonite to are guys that want to try to sprawl and brawl. Because if you can't sprawl for a lengthy period of time, you ain't gonna be brawling off your back, brother. I'll tell you that. This is really the only way I could describe Jesse Taylor to someone who is just like, what is Jesse Taylor? What is Jesse Taylor? He'll try to hit you with his hands, but if he can't find you, he'll grind you, and he'll just get a hold of you and whip you to the ground. You ain't so mobile when you're on your back, now are you, right? You're not so mobile, when you're on your back. So, yeah, he immobilizes guys, and he really puts it on them. The real hot take here, though, is that the main event is Justin Gaethje versus Michael Johnson. On a weekend, Pat, where there's so many fights happening, there's so many high-profile bouts and so many moving parts between different organizations and things going on, this fight sticks out as a fan favorite fight. Everybody wants to see this fight. This is a great fight. But what you have here is you got Justin Gaethje, who's 16-0. He's regarded as the top 155-pound fighter outside of the UFC, making his official UFC debut. Comes from the World Series of Fighting. Guy's a wrecking machine. Guy finishes everything put in front of him. He's super entertaining. He's young. He can wrestle. He can strike. He can do it all. The hype's behind him. And I think he's in for a devastating knockout loss to Michael Johnson.
Oh, but there's only one thing I know about Michael Johnson is that he is a chicken. He cannot run the 200 meters. Donovan Bailey called him out.
Oh, that's Ben Johnson.
No, that was Michael Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
American gold medalist Michael Johnson.
That's
couldn't
right.
beat Donovan Bailey in the 150-meter dash.
Donovan Bailey.
He's a chicken. He pulled up lane with the hamstring.
Here's a funny story for you. So our
97, 98?
My guy Donnelly, right, in China right now, living, doing the do. So he's training with this Russian guy. So him and this Russian guy to go to this like Chinese market, right? And he says he's walking, and he says there's a rooster that just like runs across the road, right? Like, they're in rural China. A rooster runs across the road, and then the Russian guy goes, "Look, it's Conor McGregor." I thought it was a good laugh. Obviously, he's a Khabib supporter, but all the same, I thought it was pretty funny.
So for the fight, we're going Taylor parlayed with Elias Tavares goes to decision.
Yeah,
for sure. That could be our bet. I bet you get around even money on that.
Check right now, and I don't know this off the top of my head. When Bookie Beatdown was around, man, I knew all the odds, all the props. Now I physically have to look at it. But Michael Johnson, what's it by knockout? To that extent, what's it by first round knockout?
First round, just Michael. Will the fight go the distance? Michael Johnson by KO, TKO, or DQ in the first round, plus 375.
I like it. Here's the thing. I did this on a good little boxing parlay the other day. Boxing bet, I should say.
Just to bet him round 1 is 3-1.
Yeah, so what you do is, I did this on boxing, is that bet him in round 1 and in round 2, and you can't lose money.
By knockout?
If either one hits, you're good.
But you to win by knockout?
Well, I bet boxing, and it was a scheduled 8 round.
No, but for this, like, he's not going to win by submission, is he? So
no way.
So you get, if Michael Johnson wins in the first round, it's plus 375. If he wins in the second round, it's actually 5-1.
That's what I mean. So what you do is
you can bet him in the third round. It's 9-1.
Let's say hypothetically you put $100 on both of them, right? If he wins in the first round, you still profit $275. If he wins in the second round, you profit $400. It's literally, people used to do that with Ronda. They used to bet her in the first round and the second round, knowing that she would win in the first or second round. The thing is, everybody jumped on that prop, right?
And it all went down.
Just to say this boxing thing in the day, I'm looking at it. It's a scheduled 8-rounder. There's no way in hell it's going to go 8 round. The one guy's a schlub. The one guy's a knockout power. But the schlub has never been knocked down in less than 3. So I bet 3, 4, and 5, and it's all 500, 600, 700. Knocks him out in round 4. Money all around. This is a similar situation here. I honestly do feel that this is, sure, it's a dangerous fight. One guy's 16-0. One guy's a potent finisher. One guy's got a style that he could break Michael Johnson. But this guy went on record when he got signed by the UFC and said, I'm not making any guarantees about my UFC run other than I will get knocked out cold in my next 10 fights. Well, that's not a great proclamation. What are you talking about, right? And by the way, if someone's going to be the guy to knock you out in your next 10 fights, it's MJ. It's Michael the Menace. So I have strong feelings with him here.
If you bet him 5th round knockout, 50-1. It's not getting that far, though, is it?
I mean, theoretically it could. I one time saw Bigfoot Silva and Mark Hunt go for 5 rounds. But logic would dictate probably not, Patrick.
All right. Cody Saftic. Check him out on Twitter at CJ Saftic and on the MMA Report with John Pollock.
Yes.
What day does that come out?
Today, so Thursday.
Oh, so you got a big Thursdays for you.
Yeah, well, I shoot with him in the morning, I shoot with you in the afternoon, and then, get back to editing. So got to put out
enjoy International Fight Week. Fight weekend.
You know what? It's kind of weird, too, because who doesn't love a long weekend? Having the Monday off, because we're Canadian, so we had the Monday off. I think Americans had the 4th of July, which is the Tuesday. Oh, man, that crushed me. That one day set me back.
Oh, me too. It was terrible.
Woo. Yeah, so, I mean, holidays are great.
Make all holidays Fridays.
Yeah,
I don't care if it falls on 100%. A Monday. Just make it on Friday.
You know what? If I know I'm not coming in on the Friday, I can condense my week. I'm good. It's just when I get a late start to it, I'm just like, oh my god,
I'm way behind. This sucks.
Then on Wednesday you think it's Tuesday, and on Thursday you think it's Wednesday, and it really throws the whole thing out of loop. However, a day at the cottage, some beers and a boat.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. It's just the rest of your week is a week from hell.
Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME on Twitter, or you can subscribe to the Pat Mayo Hour on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere at least where podcasts can be downloaded. It's free, it's uncensored, uncut, always. And for the video version, check out the Fight Network and or FNTSY Sports Network YouTube pages. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this week. I'll see you next time.